answering the age-old question yet again. What happens when two people switch bodies and have to live one another's lives, walk a mile in each other's shoes, etc., etc.? In this particular instance, two teenage high school girls. This is 1996, Katherine Heigl, Danielle Harris, Wish Upon a Star. So from top to bottom, there is absolutely nothing overwhelmingly original about this conception, this story. When I first got pulled into Wish Upon a Star, and I say first because I've watched it many times now, it was about the year 2000. I had a very basic cable in a rural setting that I lived in and did not have any dish or anything. Well before streaming was a common thing, I got like 4 channels. One of them happened to be some version of the Disney Channel, believe it or not, at the time. And so I ended up watching a lot of these sort of family films. Somehow I missed Ice Princess until I saw that more recently, although that was a bit later film. Sitting around, on it comes. I remember Danielle Harris, as many of my generation did, when she was the little girl in the Halloween franchise. We'd seen her in other things like Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. Katherine Heigl was in a couple things I'm blanking on right now. So they were young. It was 96. I'm watching it around 2000, and I thought, wonder what this will be. And there's nothing mysterious about the concept of people trading places, changing bodies, changing lives. This is done over and over again in cinema. And like a lot of those great sort of cliches of our culture, how well you do them is what really makes them satisfying or not. If you subvert the expectations, that's got to also be done in a way that leaves you feeling satisfied with the outcome. It can't be just random nonsense just to challenge your expectations, and just meeting them is not adequate enough to be entertaining on its own when you're doing something that has been so done and redone culturally. And now, having found a couple of places where it is still streaming for free or built into the service that I have, I found this the other day and I watched it yet again. I've watched it probably a dozen times. 1996, Wish Upon a Star has kind of everything quintessentially 90s as a version of this story. It's obviously very family oriented, although, it's not entirely, I'm sure it's like a G rating. I haven't looked. But there is the strange dance that's done on a table in an exotic outfit in the lunchroom at the school. It is interesting that the parents of the 2 girls are psychiatrists, and as such, they are predictably terrible at parenting. And it is a running joke that their inability or refusal to even attempt to parent, they have convinced themselves is a parenting strategy. Boy, you could write books about that, representing the parents of that era and sometimes the era just before. So it isn't exactly a old-fashioned family movie in that sense. Mom and dad play a minor role. They are not the people that help the kids grow up and come to an understanding. And it is relatively predictable. The 2 sisters are very different. They don't always get along. In fact, most of the time they don't. They end up wanting to be one another. They switch bodies, and we get to see the way that their life plays out. The entertaining quality comes in the specifics of the story that make it quintessentially 90s. Finding herself suddenly in her nerdy little sister's body, and then the other sister finding herself in the popular girl's body, and this challenge of, you better stay on a diet because you're in my body, and then dressing all erotically as the other sister to try to embarrass her. They play it off in a way that is much more quintessentially 90s than any other version of this story. A lot of the versions of this story, you get, mom and daughter, dad and son. You get a lot of combinations of this, let's swap bodies and exist for a while. So that is not original. But the way that it is delivered in Wish Upon a Star never ceases to be funny each time it comes up. The girls do such a good job. The actresses that play them do such a good job of portraying all of that teenage angst in a way that comes out funny and entertaining instead of a severe pain in the butt like teenagers generally are in real life. And very predictably, they grow to understand one another better, but it feels more, there's a greater realism to it because of the way the actresses play it so well, and not just an understanding of one another. They kind of learn from one another by having to learn each other's lives. And as much as it seems like it's predictable, it's so much more enjoyable than many different versions of this same story. And I keep bringing up the 90s, but there's a great band that appears, and they do regularly appear on TV and at the dance and other places in the film. And I didn't even think about it until just a couple years ago, seeing this on. This is the era of the internet now, so I looked them up. Moon Pools and Caterpillars. They were a band for a while. About 3 of them are from the Philippines. And wow, I found them on their music streaming. And again, this is, if you liked that alternative, that sort of pop rock fusion that was going on in the 90s, it's just, wow, it's good stuff. And it's a flashback without listening to just the stuff that was popular on the radio then, because I knew they existed kind of from the movie, but not something I listened to regularly. So now the soundtrack to that just backs it up all the more, and it just increases the level of, now, believe it or not, it's already a period piece by itself to be looking at this. It's in a high school setting, but it's the high school of 96, and now it's, wow, can it really have been that long ago already? But it is a great movie if you can find it. I found it on YouTube, but I have YouTube Premium. I found it on Tubi with commercials on Tubi for free. You can find it a lot of places, despite it being Disney. It's a lot of different locations you can watch it. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's very entertaining, good stuff, and let me know what you think.